Welcome to the Enter the Mind podcast.
The most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind.
Why enter the mind? Because it's that room in your house that's been there all along that you've never gone into.
Well, now it's time to enter with two mind coaches dedicated to self-help and the thriving of all human beings.
I'm Kyra Carlin.
And I'm Robert Nelson.
Welcome to Enter the Mind.
In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about how to be less insecure, sort of a part 2 to last week's episode. Before we get to that, Kyra, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Very good. I've got this cool hat on. How are you, Robert?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I am still waking up, but with the help of this caffeine from the green tea and some good morning philosophy talk, I think I'm in good shape. So, all right, that being said, how would you like to introduce today's topic?
So you and I, Robert and I, both thought that last week's episode was really good, and we touched base on a lot of things that I don't think are said normally about insecurity. So we decided to do a round 2, and now here the end goal is to help you point out your insecurities when they come about and to sort of get in a habitual framework of, why do I feel this way? What does this person have that I don't? When did I even start feeling insecure about this specific thing? Why do I think it's true? What makes me think that it's true? So we just want to help you get to the root of why you're insecure and help you work through it so you can just feel confident and bold in any situation that you're in and not controlled by others.
Right on. And so I knew that we were planning to talk about, some examples of our own. I'm willing to volunteer to go first because I have some thoughts already bubbling to the surface. So if it's all right with you, I can share my example. Were you going to ask me questions like to guide me through, or?
Yes, that would be great. Okay, so what has made you feel insecure in the past?
So this is something I mentioned in last week's episode. It was kind of in maybe 4th, 5th, 6th grade is when I started to realize that the other kids in the class, some of them in particular, who were very, very wealthy, had different clothes. They had like designer clothes. They had more expensive clothes. And I think as a result, they were kind of more popular. You know, they were getting, for birthday parties, they were getting these like really expensive items, you know, whether it was, we had a phase where all of the kids got into these like BMX bikes, and, you know, and then for the wealthy kids, every time they had a birthday, then they're getting this brand new, like, you know, $1,000 bicycle or whatever. And I'm like, just like, what the hell? Like, how come I don't get that stuff? Right. And so I think ever since then, I've kind of had a little bit of, I think I'm getting over it now, which we'll get to, but I think that's where it came from, is that sort of, you know, when you're in kindergarten, you don't kind of understand that like socioeconomic stuff, but getting into 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, you start to kind of realize like, oh, some people have more than others, you know?
Yes. Okay, now, so what made you feel insecure was the fact that other people had more than you, but why did you feel insecure about others having more than you?
I think they were more popular. Kids who had that stuff.
Popularity.
They were kind of like, you know, you can kind of like show it off on the playground, and I think even it comes back down to the boys who had those items were more attractive to the girls. even at 4th, 5th, and 6th grade.
So do you remember anyone like who specifically made you feel insecure?
Yeah, but they didn't do it intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just by them having the stuff that they had, I felt insecure.
And the insecurity came about when you were younger in school. Now, when you were younger, why did you think that it was true that because they have more money and they're more popular and you have less money, well, had less money and were less popular, why did you think that it's true that that made you less of a person? What was there any thought that came up? Why did you think that it was true?
It's a good question. I think it's just sort of a feeling of exclusion, and fortunately, I wasn't really bullied in school. I know there's a lot of people who were, but it was just sort of, I probably bullied myself. My own mind bullied me more than any other kid on the playground. Hence why I now run a podcast with you called Enter the Mind, so that we can take back control of our minds. But I think, hell yeah, but I think that I think I got this just impression from even little things, like, Monday morning, the kids would show up on the playground and start talking about, oh, the new music video that dropped on MTV over the weekend and blah, blah, blah. Well, I didn't know what they were talking about because I had the free TV channels from the antenna. My parents didn't want to pay for cable. And so I kind of was out of the loop, and I didn't know, like, I couldn't comment on like, oh, MTV, this and that. And I was just like, well, yeah, I watched VHS tapes this weekend, So, I mean, where did I get the sense that I was lesser? I don't know. It was just sort of like it was almost like a longing, almost like I'm not part of the crowd, I guess.
So that why for you thinking that it was true is because you didn't feel connected.
Probably, yeah.
What makes you feel insecure? Less money, or, this technically isn't totally implying to you anymore. Now I'm just kind of saying it like in general, but so this is kind of like the storyline. Like, what makes you feel insecure? Less money. Why do you feel insecure about it? Because other people are more popular because they have money. Who made you feel insecure? Those kids, not intentionally, but they made you feel insecure because they had more. And then when did the security come about? When you were younger? And why do you think it's true? Because out of that whole entire storyline, you thought it was true because you didn't feel connected to those people. You didn't feel you had anything to connect with them about. So that's really interesting. Not being connected. I wonder if that has any relevance to any other insecurities. But that actually could be, because it's like, if I'm in a room full of business people and I don't have my nails done and they're all short and nubby because I bite them sometimes, and I'm feeling a little bit insecure because I don't feel connected to these kind of people. I don't feel like I can fit in because I don't have that specific thing with that specific tribe. And I think that what we were talking about in last week's episode about, stop trying to fit into a tribe that isn't yours. Sure. don't cut off your fingers because you're trying to join a tribe, you know? But like, if painting your nails is something that makes you feel secure in a room full of business people, then by all means do it. That doesn't mean that you're trying to fit into a tribe that isn't yours. That just means that you know your tribe and you know how you need to present yourself in order to feel good and connected to that tribe. So we may have just made a breakthrough.
I think, yeah, there's such a social component to it. If it's not the foundation, because this reminds me of the episode we did on anxiety, I think, and we talked about that example of the astronaut that gets disconnected from his spaceship and just floats away, and how it's similar to the umbilical cord being cut, which is the child's first trauma in the world, is being separated from the source of safety and nutrients, which is the mother. And so it sets the story for the rest of that human's life, of the story of that human. The rest of that human's life becomes a story of seeking reconnection with something or someone. And I think a whole lot of insecurity comes from the concern of being left out or disconnected from others.
I think I definitely can understand that. I can definitely understand that. I like it. All right. Shall we move on to my insecurity? So I can now get a woman's viewpoint. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to run through the same questions?
Yeah, I'll try to remember them as closely as possible. All right. So tell me what makes you, or what's the insecurity you wanted to share?
An insecurity that I have would be that even though I am a genius and I'm really, really smart, I still am a little bit wonkier than most professional people. And sometimes I feel insecure about that because, yeah, that's something that makes me feel a little insecure sometimes.
Okay. Do you remember the first time you started feeling this?
Not directly linked to business, but like I've always been very smart, but like I feel like the smart kids were always kind of plain and kind of nerdy and kind of didn't entirely laugh at funny things or didn't crack jokes or things like that. And here I am, a genius, cracking jokes, dark jokes, especially, being wonky, shaking my ass, and I feel like that came about when I was probably in like fifth grade. Like fifth grade, I think is when I really remember it happening, when, people just would not take me seriously because I was so wonky.
And what's the concern if people don't take you seriously?
Well, I want people to see me as somebody who can easily live both lives, easily be somebody who is a professional, but never take away her soul because, she's made to be a specific way. I think that I just want people to be able to trust me as a coach, but I don't want to change myself to try and fit into what your idea of a coach should be.
Okay. Do you remember who it was back in fifth grade that you were concerned did not take you seriously?
Yes. The popular girls. Popular. The ones who peaked in fifth grade and sixth grade and stuff. And, they just kind of excluded me. They didn't let me entirely be a part of what they were doing, maybe because they were scared that they would be judged for being seen with me, because everyone thought the same thing about me, that I was nuts. So
Gotcha. Let me see what else we covered. Who, what, when, where. Do you remember, in terms of location, having these feelings in the classroom, on the playground, on the weekends, at the parks, or
all the time?
constant? All
Yeah.
the time and everywhere.
Yes. Amen. Yes.
Wow.
I mean, not when I was like with like my real friends who liked me for me. You know, they never made me feel like excluded, but like at school, yes, like on the playground and the cafeteria, all those places, because I just always felt like somebody's eyes were on me. And I guess when they're from having to be forced into school, you know, 5 days a week, I probably gained a habitual trigger response, you know, just always thinking that somebody's looking at me and judging me.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, nowadays, when you are a coach, and you have to generate some degree of trustworthiness in others. It makes sense. But back when you were in like 5th grade, what was the need to sort of be trusted and taken seriously? Like what was the benefit? What was the benefit that followed from that?
I just needed people to see that this is not how you have to live fucking life. You don't have to be put in a little fucking square, and I'm going to be the person to show you that it's fucking true. That was the fucking benefit.
And that sounds very confident now. Were you not as confident back then about it?
No.
And why do you think so?
I don't think I was confident about it back then, because I didn't have enough information to show that I was right. Nobody believed me. And even though like my friends accepted me and, you know, knew that I was crazy, I feel like they would still go to parties without me when I wasn't invited. And, you know, when people would be like, don't bring Kyra. And, you know, so yeah.
And I mean, of course, that ties in a lot with our theme of like the social exclusion and disconnection.
Yeah.
What would you say, do you remember what was the turning point when you kind of did understand that like, hey, I'm in the right here, like everybody else is messed up, they're too straight edge, they're too square, they're too whatever, and I'm actually on the right path? Do you remember that turning point?
Now, it sounds a little strange, but it was recently, maybe about 8 months ago was when I finally came to the conclusion, like, because I was working like with Arbonne at the time, and I don't know, they just made me, I'm not dissing Arbonne, great people and everything, but like they just kind of made me feel like I didn't fit into their square. And all of them are super cool people, they're super weird and everything, but like they wanted me to do my business a specific way. And not only that, but another coach that I had, I think about a year before I joined Arbonne, or like 6 months before I joined Arbonne, she wanted me to be a specific way. That coach wanted me to be a specific way, show up online a specific way. And both of those ways that those two things wanted me to show up as were not me. And I got so sick and tired of faking online. And I just kind of came to the conclusion that I am my own coach, and I am weird, and you don't have to fit into a box to be your own coach. And I found evidence from other coaches who, you know, showed their bodies and maybe swear it a little bit, and they have set the pace for me to feel comfortable now in who I am, you know, the wonky self-mastery coach.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So part of it was finding people that did embody the same values that you did.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other thing you said was, the other thing you said was, you got tired of faking, right?
Got real tired of faking it. Got real tired of trying to fit into the square that other people wanted me to be in. Real tired.
I've been I've been analyzing energy use lately, like energy expenditure. And I think a lot of energy, maybe psychic energy or whatever, can be spent or wasted on that very thing that we're talking about, like faking it, trying to fit into a tribe that isn't yours, to borrow your quote. And if you could quantify that as a certain number of calories burned during the day, or calories of psychic energy that are burned, it's like it's energy that's just, it's not driving you forward where you want to go, or it's, I don't know quite the best analogy or metaphor, but what I gathered is from what you were saying at the end there is it sounds like you achieved alignment with like who you really are, like you got in touch with who you are at the core. Does that resonates with you from your body language?
It definitely resonates with me. And I like what you said about like burning calories. So it's like burning calories are totally good, but when you think of it as psychic energy, and burning calories when you're exercising, it's great, but burning calories when you're psychic energying, focusing on something specific, we can think of it in terms of bad. Like exercising, calories burned, good. Focusing, calories burned, bad. So it's like you said, when you're faking it and you're using up all of these calories in your brain to be something that you're not, you're burning up that psychic energy. You're burning up that energy in your body that can be used to align with yourself.
Totally, because self-limitation and self-doubt, those as thoughts, those consume energy. And when we have thoughts or trains of thought or images in our mind of can't and not able to, and I don't fit in, and this and that, all of those thoughts are energy consuming, right? It's like having a television screen plugged in that's using up your own soul's electricity, but the television is showing like these scary movies, or it's showing all of these images of you not succeeding in life, images of you failing and not fitting in, and yet you continue to allow that to be plugged in to your own like electric bill, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, I like it. And actually, I'm doing a video today about that sort of like same topic. Like when you got something plugged in and it's running up your goddamn electric bill, since when do we pay for things that we don't want? Since when do we buy in to insecurities when it's wasting up all of our universal dollars? Why are we paying for something? Why are we subscribed to something that we don't like? It's crazy. And I think that might come from just people putting ideas in our minds throughout our life. So it's like we keep it plugged in. I don't know how to connect that. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I see. Sorry, my mind is going in another direction. I think that we might be able to tie this together. I don't know, but let me share sort of what's going through my mind is, because we talked about sort of how you came out of your insecurity or overcame it, about being wonky. And if I were to think of how did I overcome my insecurity of the money thing and not having expensive clothes and toys growing up, I think that I study money a lot right now. Study entrepreneurship and business and money, and that's all good because I'm learning things, right? But you always got to ask, to what degree am I being motivated by deficiency or by this sense of not being enough or having to overcompensate or something like that, right? Because then you're just kind of living in reaction to the world, trying to fill this, void of self-esteem versus actually letting your own sunlight shine out. And so how did I overcome it? I think that nowadays I think differently about it. I think in terms of if I buy an expensive shirt, for instance, right? I do it freely, and I do it knowing that there's an opportunity cost, because if I spend $100 on a shirt, that object will depreciate in value because, 10 years from now, that shirt, well, let's see, 5 years from now, the shirt's value will be lower, right? But if I buy a $20 shirt and I take the $80 and I invest it in the S&P 500 index fund, and I'm making 12% a year or whatever, then that $80 becomes, in 5 years, it becomes, $100, $120, $140, whatever. Or if I use that to buy real estate, then that money goes up. And I'm living in this completely different reality than I was in 5th grade, because I'm sort of seeing the cause and effect of things. And I just have this better understanding, and it's no longer this issue of oh, I don't fit in because I don't have the cool item. It's more of okay, I see like a chessboard, these different options. If I buy the shirt, this is what happens. If I spend the money on something else, this is what happens. And I feel like that's just much more in alignment with reality, right? And so if we go back to your example of, kind of getting more in touch with or how would we put it? I guess trusting yourself more and embracing the wonkiness. I feel like I unplugged the whole thought pattern of oh, if I don't have this, I'm not going to be cool enough. You tell me, do you feel like you ever unplugged at some point these useless thought patterns of?
Yeah, for sure I have. But I wanted to say one thing about where you're driven from. And I feel like that thought of, if you're driven from insecurity and fitting in, then maybe you would spend that $100 on a shirt. But the only people that you would really fit in with are the people who have the same mindset as you, the same people who are driven from insecurity and trying to be cool. So you would attract those same kind of people into your life. So you would be fitting into a tribe then, but you wouldn't be fitting into the tribe that you want to fit in, right? Instead, and I feel like that's also like gratification, like immediate gratification. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with insecurity, but that sort of different viewpoint that you had of, instead of being driven by, people will think I'm cool for doing this, instead you were driven by what is going to be the best option for me to do so that I can get what I want, so that I can attract what I want, so that I can be who I want. And that's when you were like, $20 on a shirt, $80 in investing. So I think that, yeah, insecurities and the actions that you take definitely have a big part of where you're drawn from. Like, I may sometimes be insecure about, how wonky of a coach I am, but I know my shit and I need to accept that I know my shit. And instead of being driven from, like, say I want to go to a network, not a network, like a marketing, not network, networking, like a networking event, right? And if I were to go because I was driven by insecurity that, maybe my business isn't doing as well as I'd like it to be, or, people will think I'm cool on Instagram if they see me at a networking event, instead of being driven by those things, be driven by, the fact that you can possibly help somebody there. Be driven by the fact that this is what you're passionate about in life and I'm going to go. And even though those other insecurities may still be kind of in the back of your mind, you kind of just got to look them in the eyes and be like, I see you, motherfucker, and I ain't playing your games. I'm going here not because I'm insecure, not because I see your ass, but because I'm driven by passion and I'm driven by what I do in life. So, yeah, I hope that made sense.
Okay, so this makes me think of sort of in self-help and coaching, there's this common thought experiment, which is, if you were playing a video game, and you were to choose a character, who would be your character? Who would you be proud to show up in life as? And if the person that you are currently is on the screen, would you choose that person as your character? Or would you be like, no, thanks, let me go with this other person? Because then that's a sort of a warning sign. It's like, well, why are you not being the person that you want to be? Yet at the same time, we would also agree that we don't want to simply live to please others. We don't want to just live up to other people's standards. We don't want to be sort of concerned about like, oh, how cool do I look? That sort of a thing. That we acknowledge that also is true. So where is the resolution or the higher point between those two opposites of kind of being on the one hand like so stoked about like who you are and like loving yourself and your sort of how you show up in the world, and yet at the same time sort of not being concerned about like how you're looking. But it's weird because you do have to be kind of aware of how you're living and how other people are reacting to you, because there is such a thing as social violations. And, if you decide that, oh, you're so cool and you're just going to drive on the left side of the road instead of the right side because, that's what you feel like doing. That's what your soul drives you to do. that's who you truly are deep down. Like, no, that doesn't work because you're going to get in a car crash. So it's like where do we meld together these two different worlds of like our truly optimal ideal self, fulfilling our full potential, but also within a reality that has other people where we work together with them. And you see what I mean?
I think that it comes down to a point of obviously caring what other people think, but not caring so much to the point that you would put them on a pedestal and get to decide who the fuck you are, sort of thing. So it's like, if I'm going to a networking event, you know, and my fucking nails aren't done, and I'm showing up to this event and I feel a little bit insecure because these are the people that I want to be involved with. They're smart, they're going for something in their life, and I want to surround myself with those type of people. But say I go and they are like rude to me because of like my nails or whatever, and they're like, I hear them whispering about me and they're like, oh, did you see your nails? They're not done yet. You know, then those aren't even my people that I want to be around. You know, it doesn't mean that necessarily networking people aren't the people that I want to be around, but clearly you weren't what I thought of you. Clearly, you know, because if I were at a networking event and my nails were done and this woman showed up to me and her nails looked like mine, I would just look at her and I'd be like, bitch, gotta get your nails done. Get them done, woman. But I wouldn't judge her for it. I mean, like, everything, you know, happens. So, you know, I think it comes down to a point of, you know, caring what other people think, for sure, so that way you can fit in with the tribe that you want to fit in with. But if they're constantly pow 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 pow, you know, putting you down for who you are, then those specific networking people aren't my networking people. But maybe if I go to a different networking event and they're like, girl, we don't care if you don't have your nails done, like, you seem like a smart woman, you know, I'd like to work with you, you know, then those are my people. And I'm not gonna go back with my nails done and go back to that old networking group and be like, oh, look, I got my nails done, you know, because chances are they still probably be like, she got her nails done for us. You know, like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. And I think it points something out about reality or about human psychology, whatever, but that on the surface are the behaviors. So you could have someone who paints their nails before going to an event, like a networking event, but that's the surface layer. But then the deeper layers, there's so many different possibilities that it could be coming from a place of like, oh gosh, I hope I fit in here, to a place of, you know what, I'm doing this because I like it, not because of anybody's reaction. Or even a place of like, you know, ooh, you know, if I do this, people are going to be more likely to start conversations with me, and that's the result that I want, so I'm going to get the result that I want. And there's so many different varieties and flavors and colors of the intention, and I think maybe that's where the richness in the psychology is. But I don't know, what do you think? Because
that's terrific. I think that's absolutely amazing, because I can paint my nails, you know, but it can either be driven from that place inside of me of, I want to feel accepted and I want these people to accept me, or it could be driven from a place of having my nails done and having myself presented well will make me feel good when I arrive here. And when I feel good, I get the results that I want. And so I will paint my nails because I want good results. I'm not going to paint my nails because I want your acceptance. You made a great point right there.
I'm glad it clicked. So I think that maybe where psychology is not taught correctly to people, or where the general public needs to understand their own psychology better, is not focusing so much on those surface things, because people will ask themselves, you know, should I paint the nails before the event? Should I not? I don't know. I don't know if is it too try hard? Is it this and that? And they're debating on the surface, but the surface is not where the attention should go. The true bulk of the iceberg, the true meat and potatoes of the human experience is all of that intention and the place that you're coming from, right? That's uniquely about being a human. You know, a bird that's out there flying around and then decides either to get is gonna build it, pick up a worm or something. I don't know. It's like that. There is just surface level to their behaviors. But when it comes to the human being, we have behaviors on the surface, but we have this vast wealth under the surface of sort of our motivations and where we're coming from and our values and what we stand for, what we believe in, and what we want to display to the world. So that's, I guess those are my thoughts in a nutshell. What about you?
I'm not saying anything else because that was the most perfect set of words I've ever heard in my entire goddamn life.
All right. Well,
very good. Very good.
Thank you. Do you have any fun events coming up that you want to talk about?
I do actually. So I am actually doing a online guided sound healing meditation with our previous guest on here, Janessa Coburn. I found out that her last name is pronounced Coburn, not Cockburn. It was really funny when she told me too, but we're doing an online, so a virtual guided sound healing meditation. It'll be 45 minutes. It's free. And I'm pretty sure we only have like 7 spots left. So if you want to leap on that train, the link is in my bio on Instagram at Soul Designed Future. It's going to be a good time. Saturday morning, 10 a.m.
Yeah, I saw your post on that. Super cool. So
thanks.
So people should check out Soul Designed Future on Instagram. Right on. Yeah, I'm sort of wrapping up along, what do you call it? Wrapping up a long video spree, I guess. I was doing a lot of daily videos. And I think I'm going to enter a new phase soon. So it's very exciting. Just stay tuned on the Existence First YouTube and Instagram because there's good stuff ahead. Comment any thoughts you have about future episodes you'd like, and we will see you next week.